And welcome back to This Week. Time now to get the views of our media and political experts, Nashville attorney and Democratic political activist Larry Woods, and syndicated conservative talk show host Steve Gill. Guys, welcome very much. A pretty wild and woolly week here. I guess let's start with the governor going to D.C., talking with General Motors, and coming back saying, you're going to keep the plant in Tennessee, write me a check for $200 million. I mean, this is close to extortion almost, isn't it?
I don't think anybody at General Motors has read How to Win Friends and Influence People, or maybe even glanced at the Cliff Notes edition. You've already taken $80 billion or so from taxpayers, and now you're trying to gouge Tennessee taxpayers for another $200 million. This is not helpful to them, and that company is in deep trouble. They need to start winning some support.
I think that the joke writer for David Letterman's advising General Motors. You know, this is outrageous. If we gave them $2 million or $200, they're going to be back at the trough next year asking for more cash. No, they've got to learn how to build cars that American buyers want to buy, and that obviously is not going to happen in the near-term future. General Motors has got a very bleak future, and we should not be giving cash to a company in that position.
The governor seemed really taken aback by this, like he didn't expect this at all, and it also bodes really badly for the future of that plant down there.
Well, and Michigan is one of the places that is also in consideration for this plant. Michigan and Wisconsin, those states are in more dire financial circumstances than Tennessee. They're not going to come up with $200 million. So does Michigan get it for free? And if you're going to try to sell cars to people in Michigan, I hate to break it to you, but they've got 10, 12% unemployment. They're going nowhere fast. Moving the plant there isn't going to turn that economy around. There's nobody there to buy cars. So you're going to disrespect the southern market, the Tennessee market, to put it in Michigan and help run your company down the tubes.
General Motors needs new leadership. I mean, this is the same old stale leadership that's run them in the ground over the last 2 decades, and their only aspect of a new idea is to ask a state government for cash. No, it's just not going to happen.
We talked about a little bit about this as we speculated what's going to happen down there. Now that it looks like this plant's really in trouble, this is a real blow to the economy, to these 3,000 people plus their families in this area.
Well, and part of the problem for General Motors is they have new leadership. They've just announced a new CEO who's announced right out of the blocks he doesn't know anything about the automotive industry, which maybe he can't do any worse than the guys that have been running it down the tubes. But that is not what you need to head this company, a guy who admits he doesn't know anything about running this industry.
Not a good start.
It is bad news
the
for
new
Spring Hill.
shareholders of GM, which is all of us and the UAW and Canada, et cetera, need to call a shareholders meeting and fire this new leadership. They're obviously incompetent.
Well, Lamar Alexander has the idea of actually putting stock into the hands of the American people. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. I think it's maybe intended to underline that we are the shareholders, as Larry points out. But the bottom line is Barack Obama and the government that own these shares right now, they're not going to do anything to what these guys are doing because they're all about helping the UAW get benefits, and this is all about putting our money in UAW's pockets, and moving this plant to Michigan is exactly what that's about.
It looks like it's going to happen.
That's right. Our government resources needs to be focused on jobs and health care and education, and General Motors used to be, and the Big Three used to be a big part of that in American culture and neighborhoods, but it's a new world. That's just never going to reoccur.
Big rift on Tennessee's Capitol Hill between the governor and lieutenant governor over what the governor says was a Republican amendment to the budget that would, in effect, cancel out a solar farm in West Tennessee. The governor called that amendment stupid. Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey did not take kindly to the stupid remark.
Well, I think it's interesting. This is a solar farm that I think the governor plans to spend $62 million to build something that may generate $1 million. That's not good economics, and I don't think you ought to start name-calling other people stupid when you've got a plan that doesn't make any economic sense.
Steve, you're my friend. I won't call you names. But Governor Bredesen knows a lot more about economics and business than Ron Ramsey. Ramsey wants to be governor. We're going to see a lot of news conferences and political issues like this in the next year from candidates for governor. Bredesen's not running for anything. He's trying to do what he thinks is right for our state. We need new energy. If we continue to rely upon coal, natural gas a little bit in Tennessee, we're going nowhere with that. It's anti-environmental. The green proposals that Governor Bredesen is sponsoring are the wave of the future.
Well, we ought to take a look at nuclear power. You know, we've got the President, Barack Obama, wanting to make sure that Ahmadinejad and Kim Jong-il get nuclear power, but doesn't want America to get nuclear power. Why should we put this stuff into the hands of our enemies who are trying to develop nuclear weapons rather than putting it into the hands of America? I don't think TVA wants to develop nuclear weapons.
I think the federal government, not necessarily TVA, should encourage clean nuclear power that's safe. We've taken steps in that direction. We need more science and technological research. But I agree, nuclear power should be one of the central tenets in the future.
Legislature's been in session for its longest period of time, in about 6 years. It's still not finished. They still have the budget to come up with some kind of compromise uniformity. Does this make that even harder, or is this really the first time we're seeing the Republican majority in the Senate and House kind of using its power, saying we were elected by the people and we're going to make sure that our voices are heard in this budget process?
Well, I think part of what the governor didn't like about the Republican proposal is it didn't include a lot of tax increases, and frankly he needs to kind of take a look around the legislature. I don't think he's going to find a lot of Democrats who are saying, I want to be the guy taking the point on pushing higher taxes.
Nobody wants higher taxes. But we're in an economic crunch at this point where the state budget and state revenues have fallen so dramatically. Are we going to lay people off by not giving incentives that we've been providing to industry in Tennessee? Or are we going to raise some of the pay-as-you-go fees for particular tasks that the governor has proposed? I think that makes sense.
Well, those tasks always get passed on to the consumers, though. When you tax business, they pass it on to the consumers, and I think Tennessee consumers have been hit hard.
Maybe we need a fee on radio hosts, not TV anchors.
They'll get us all. A little bit of a surprise, 10 of the biggest banks in the nation that took some of the TARP money to bail themselves out paid it back this week, $68 billion paid back. I guess the good news is that the government actually made $2 billion on the investment. The companies wanted to pay back because they didn't like government control, didn't like the caps that were being put on executive pay.
Well, that's the same kind of spin that I think we might get from some banks today, saying, look, the people that are paying back their loans are making a profit for the bank. You've got to include, President Obama, all those banks that aren't paying the money back, won't pay the money back, and keep in mind that a significant portion of the TARP money, about 15%, has gone into the $80 billion we've given Chrysler and General Motors. I think the $80 billion we've lost there is going to trump the $2 billion he says we've made from these banks.
I've already won this issue in the Great Depression in the 1930s. Steve, you sound like one of those mugwumps with the Republicans back then. I mean, the government's got to step in and save the financial system. That's what President Bush did in his last few months, and also what President Obama's been doing. I don't like it either, but we just don't have a choice unless we're going to turn over everything to China. We've got to save our financial system, and that's what we've essentially done.
The problem is the numbers don't add up. The president told us that if we put the money into the economic stimulus, and we had to do it so quickly, Congress couldn't even read the bill, that we would be able to cap unemployment at 8%. Well, it's 9.4%, Larry, so the Democrats are showing us the way to getting worse than they promised us just a few short months ago, and even they now acknowledge they don't know whether it's working or not, how it's going to work, and the American people, as you saw with that Rasmussen poll, want us to stop digging the hole deeper.
Well, I want to stop digging the hole too, but the only way we're going to bring unemployment down and have industry prosper is for the federal government to take an aggressive stance about helping our American economy. And I'll take UT and give you 10 points in the next Vanderbilt game that my guys in Washington, the Obama administration, will do this right, and by a year from today, we'll have a robust economy.
They were telling us that 4 months from 4 months ago, we wouldn't see the unemployment rates we're having today. They're as bad as some of these news weather reporters.
I like news weather reporters. I'm not sure.
Wearing us out here. About 30 seconds to go. What'd you think of the idea, $560 million passed by the council for redevelopment projects, including a really total redesign and redevelopment of the riverfront?
Riverfront's a huge asset in Nashville. We've always underutilized. I'm not sure a water park is the right idea, but we ought to be doing something with that property.
I agree on the riverfront. It needs to be like the Riverwalk in San Antonio. I was there a few weeks ago. Great for that city. Our riverfront could be the same. I'm like Steve. I'm not sure about the water park idea.
Chattanooga's done great things with their riverfront.
Yes, they have.
Doing exactly what you need to do, making the river a big part of the town. We've got to do the same thing in Nashville.
Steve Gill, Larry Woods, appreciate your insight. Stay with us. This week continues in a moment.